Mic test, mic test, mic test. Hello, hello, hello. Mic test, mic test, mic test. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 167th Trading Opportunities webinar. So, I just ran a rough mic test. Just let me know if there is any issue with the audio or screen share before we proceed with the actual content. Just one confirmation should be enough. Mic test, mic test, mic test. Mic test, mic test, mic. All right. Looks to be working fine here. So, without taking any more time, let's just get started. So, first of all, my name is Nirav. I'm the admin owner of 50 Eyes Market Analysis YouTube channel and website, and this is the 167th edition of the Trading Opportunities webinar. So, these are weekly webinar series. I go live every Friday. First 3 Fridays are public, and last Friday is for members only. In the last 165 webinars, we have captured a total of 414 trades. All were discussed live in front of you guys, and we discuss all the major pairs: Euro, USD, Crude Oil, Gold, S&P 500, BTC. So that is the way we generally proceed. And a little bit more about my work, you can check the course, training programs, past posts or past webinars, etc. on the website. I do have a book here. You can check it on Amazon. Links, etc. is available here, and obviously, if you want to become a member of the private Slack group, you can just contact me using this contact us page and subject this requesting details for Slack private group as the subject. Good evening, Ativet, our private Slack group member. All right, so everything looks good here, and we are done with the formal introduction and stuff. Of course, lastly, you can check the forecast accuracy for past years here by visiting 50eyes.com/forecast accuracy, blah, 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 etc. etc. Anyways, so the way we always proceed is we first check what was being discussed in the last webinar, and then we will go on to check what is happening currently on the chart and what has happened since we last discussed the stuff. Right. So what I'll do is open up the chart of last discussion. So we are currently in the last webinar. Let me just point out that this was conducted live 13 days ago on June 20th. Do keep in mind that after June 20th, we have also conducted a webinar on the Friday, next Friday, I mean, which was on June 27th, but it was private because it was the last Friday of the month. Anyway, so we'll take references from what we said on the June 20th webinar because that is the public webinar. And let's begin by first discussing this recording, which we have on screen from the 166th webinar. So first of all, we have on screen what looks like a long setup here. Let me just increase the speed of this thing and play and see what was specifically being discussed here. Looks like we are looking for long. Upside target is 1.184, and second scenario is we are looking for pullback and then long. So in both case scenarios, we are looking for a long setup overall, and this is a swing long perspective. So there is nothing holding us back for looking for long trades, basically. Right. Since then, we have taken how many trades? Let me check. June 20th. Yes, we have taken a multitude of trades since then. So anyways, so that was a setup back then. Let's now head to the live chart and then we'll discuss the live trades we have taken on this counter as well. So on screen in front of you, you have the live chart of Euro USD. Hello, Matthew. Welcome. And nice to see you here again. So as I was saying, we have the live chart of Euro on screen, and the last discussion, the public discussion was on June 20th here somewhere. Setup was very clear. We were expecting either straight up move or pull back and then up move. So more or less we were looking for long setups, and as I said, since then we have taken multitude of long trades here in the private Slack group. So let's quickly have a look at those before we move forward with this particular discussion. Let's have a look at the last few ones here. There it is. So far so good. Target minimum. Picture perfect. Book profit on majority long. So on June 26th we have closed long trade. Okay, it was a long trade which was swing long. So we were having it when we were having the discussion on the webinar as well. Yes. So this was a trade we were carrying forward. Close around 117,233. Majority and trailing stop loss moved in free trade, updated, etc. Tail moved, etc. Stop moved. Book profit on all long. So we were able to capture the up leg till 117,762, which is more or less a big move, etc. Anyway, so that was the trade we were discussing in our last webinar. Hello, Joe. Nice to see you again here. One of our private Slack group members, Joe, as well as Raghu. Good evening to you, Raghu. So yes, as I was saying, the trade has worked out. The past discussion has played out. And currently we aren't holding anything on crude oil, sorry, Euro USD. The setup right now is that we wait for move above this level, whatever this is on your chart. Keep in mind we are using this data feed. If you are using a different data feed, then prices will vary a little bit for you accordingly, right? Again, one of our private Slack group members, Ativad, is telling us he was able to capture the move on Euro. That's good of you to tell our viewers. And of course, if you don't know, you can check out details on how to become a private Slack group member from the link scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Anyways, getting back to our discussion now, I am out of this market. We have already booked the profits, as you know, as we have just discussed the whole trade. And the current setup is that I'll look to consider longs above 118,056, roughly speaking, above this high. So that's just one of the ideas. We can also look for longs from other ways, but that's the simplest idea and most clear one so far. And if we are able to take proper entries on this setup and the stop loss is not hit, then we can look for targets around 118,727 and higher, right? And the setup is 118,056. So that's the whole setup on Euro. Consideration of long above this and targets around this, and we are currently out of the market. And more or less, it's a rather clear discussion. I don't think there is much to add here. If you have any doubts or questions, you can just push them in the live chat. Before we move over to the last, not last, of course, next chart of crude oil. That would have seen last. I'll wait a few moments here. If you guys are clear, just type in understood or clear so that we can move. Thank you, Joe, for your clarification. And Ativat as well for your clarification. All right, guys. In that case, let's thank you, Raghu. In that case, let's head over to our next chart, crude oil. So first of all, let's, as always, look at what was being discussed in our last webinar on this counter of crude oil. And again, for those of you just watching crude oil, we want to point out that we also had a private webinar after this 20th June webinar. The private one was on 27th. So a lot of things have already been discussed with the members. So this is not the proper representation, but what else can I do? So anyways, or what I mean is this is not the proper way to look at things. We want to capture things the way we discussed them in the last webinar, but since it was private, I can't really do much about it. Is that so? We are basically looking for Yes, so there were two setups which were discussed. H1 and S2. H1 was suggesting straight up, and S2 was suggesting minor up and then down. So it was simple enough. H1 is suggesting that WXY is complete and the market will just head higher, and S2 was suggesting that the market is still in the Y and probably moving as a diagonal in the Y or C. Let's see if we can point that on the chart. Yeah, here it is, the second setup. Okay, it's not that complex. We were just assuming that X is continuing and then there will be a Y. Anyways, those were the two things on crude oil. Let's just remove them for now. 1 second. I just want to check one more thing. So we had a minor confluence to the upside, but nothing fancy. It wasn't very tradable. And as such, I recall I also mentioned that this is a market to currently stay out of. Here's the live chart, WTI is crude oil, and we are following the hypothesis. Let me just show you which one. We are on a high time frame, daily time frame, as you can see over here. This is our point of reference. And what we are looking for from this point of reference is that this market is heading for, what is this? We are assuming a WXY correction. We are assuming that the W is complete here and that the X is probably still forming and then there will be a Y. So currently I'm assuming that as the primary count, and if that is the case, then we have two possibilities. First possibility is that this X is complete. The market can just head lower from here. Let's just call that the H1. And let's just call H2 here. H2 is suggesting that this X is not complete here and perhaps has some more upside remaining. Maybe that's just an assumption, and then it will fall. So H2 is suggesting up and then fall. So they both seemingly have the idea of a possible continuation to the downside. I have to discuss the S3 here at this point. There's an S3 again, which is contrary to both of these ideas. I'm just not going to discuss it in too much detail. I'm just saying that then there will be an H4, etc. So I don't want to get into too much detail. I'm just saying that we have multiple contrary ideas here. So it's still stay out of this thing kind of market. And the only setup I can actually say is well worth our time is scalp considerations once we see this market cross above 76.805. So above this level, we can consider the possibility that this market is possibly heading for H2 or some other variation, H4, H5, whatever. And we can look for scalp longs. And as you understand, scalp longs doesn't mean we'll just hold the position and keep waiting and waiting. It's just a very small risk we will like to take for a very small amount of time, it, with generally a bigger position. That's the idea. Again, anyways, I don't want to get into too much. It can become very complex discussion, and we just want to stay out of this market. I've given the general idea, touched upon the H1 and S2, which kind of summarizes the main themes. So just let me know if there's any doubts or questions. Otherwise, we'll just move to the next chart. Just to clarify again, I don't want to discuss it in too much detail as it has multiple scenarios. Kind of goes against the theme of these public webinars. I can't discuss too much complex stuff here. I don't see any comments here. They're past comments. All right, Joe. No questions from the audience. So now we are on the last public webinar chart of gold. Thank you, Joe and Raghu, for the clarifications. So as I'm saying, we are on the last public webinars discussion, and What we have on screen is the chart of gold. Let's see what specifically we were discussing here. Oh yeah, I remember this one was a loser trade. We were expecting that this market will go higher. That was the primary hypothesis from our last discussion, last public discussion, I mean, and that we are looking for possible wave Y up, and this X had a stop loss around 3290, roughly speaking, very near to this level, probably exactly this level. Rough. Anyways, what I'm saying is that we were looking for long setups. I was already long on this counter with this idea of W up, X down, Y up, or zigzag, you can say. Complex, I should say, actually. So, anyways, that was the main theme from our last discussion. Let's now head over to the live chart. So, here on screen, we have the chart of gold. Let's point out the date 20th, 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 20th. So, somewhere here was last discussion. And yes, as I mentioned, we were long and we were expecting this market will just take off from here. Nothing like that ever happened on this chart, or not ever happened this time on this chart. This is the 4H chart of gold. So let's see what really did happen. What happened is that the market actually went lower instead of up, so we had to close our positions and loss. Secondly, what I'm assuming here is that from this point of reference, we have possible diagonal progression. We don't have any confirmation yet, so I'm just assuming this possibility as one of many. So here that is one up, two down, three up, four down, and then we are expecting possible fifth up on this counter on gold. So the long possibility is still existing here, and actually quite clearly it is there, but I'm not very keen on this. Secondly, possibility is that perhaps this fifth is not here, but probably here, and four is already complete as well, something like this. Actually, one second, there's a correction here. I completely forgot to mention this point. So disregard the last discussions. This is the main count here. 4, because we missed the main idea here of the overlap for diagonal formation. Anyways, so we have two assumptions here. The first one is, let's just call it H3, because we aren't really sure if this is the main line. So the main line is suggesting that the fifth is complete, given the fact that the wave 5 has not crossed the high of wave 3. We are going to assume that this market has given a failed fifth, and a failed fifth can just give an intense down move. So let's just call this as H3, and H3 is suggesting intense down move. Second scenario is that we have false downside break here. This can be considered false in certain circumstances, and maybe if it is, I mean, not false or anything, it's minor break can happen. Although it's not that minor, so I have to point it out. In any case, we are saying is fifth is probably still having one leg up remaining. That's about it. One up, two down, three up, four down, and then fifth is still having one leg up remaining. That would suggest bullish movement. And as I said, we are not interested in any of that stuff until we see a move of 3399 and then above 3439. 3399, 3439. Those are the minor ideas we have on gold. Wait and watch kind of scenario on this counter. And the bullish view we have discussed, the bearish setup is also something we should have a look at if the market goes below 3250 only then. I'm not discussing the whole setup here because we don't have any confirmation of H1, S3 and H4 here. H3 was down, so let's call the other one H4 is up. So now you can see why I'm saying it's a wait and watch market. We have counter views. S3 suggesting bearishness, H4 suggesting bullishness, and hence it's a wait and watch market. Though we have discussed a clear setup for the upside and possibilities for the downside. Don't want to put too much time on it. It's just like crude oil. We want to keep this on the sidelines and check it back later. More interesting things are happening on S&P's 500. We have just closed big win trade on S&P, which was closed in 2 legs. So I like to take some time and discuss that. Just type in understood or clear something, guys. If you have doubts, just push that in the live chat. Otherwise, we'll move over to the second last chart of S&P 500, which will be followed by Bitcoin, which is again looking quite interesting compared to other charts like crude oil and gold. Seems like we do have some sort of opportunity there. All right, Joe. Thank you for the confirmation. So in that case, let's now head over to the second last chart. So on screen, you have the recording from our last public webinar. Again, just pointing out that there was a private one conducted after this one on 27 June. But anyways, we'll take pointers from what we have on screen, 6030 plus plus. That means we are looking for long setups above 6030. And let's see if there's anything else. Not much. So we have 6030 plus plus. That means a long setup on S&P, and we are assuming that this is a 1 up, 2 down for sideways correction. And then there will be an up leg for S&P. That was all. And here we have the live chart now on screen for S&P's 500. Let me just completely squeeze this enough for us to see the high time frame. First of all, we are looking at this chart from this point of reference. Let's call this POR and move further. From this point of reference, we are assuming that this market is just giving us, let's just all right, so this is the main theme we are assuming on S&P's 500 chart is happening right now. If that is the case, we have wave 3 complete here. And problem arises in the fact we are unclear if this dot 5 is complete or not. And yes, before we move further, I just also wanted to clarify that one second. So what I was saying that I wanted to clarify the simple fact here that since this market hasn't given any clear bearish movement and also this wave 5 is looking comparatively not that strong, there is the possibility that fifth is still continuing as a series of impulse, nested impulse, or possibly some complex formation. So is it complete? Is it not? Remains questionable. When can we consider the fact that the fifth is complete? We can, well, technically we will know it once we see move below 5957, but that is far lower than our current market level. So I'll just go on a lower time frame and discuss something here first. So as such, guys, I've also discussed the high time frame count. Generally, we try to avoid these kind of discussions in public webinars. But now we should have a pretty neat picture of what's possibly happening here. Circle 1, circle 2, circle 3, circle 4, circle 5. So that's one possibility that the fifth is complete, third is complete, and there will be a deeper correction. In case this market gives a deeper correction, we'll first like to note down the levels very quickly are coming in at 59, 51, and then next incoming at 57, 37. So these are the incoming support levels. In this case, the market for S&P 500 is breaking and heading lower and lower. Right, circle 1, circle 2, circle 3, circle 4, circle 5 is just an illusionary numbering system that I have put on the chart. As I mentioned, there is a possibility that all of this is just starting from here. And let's just assume, I'm just giving a rough assumption that this is just one, and then there's a correction, and then there's a even bigger leg. Right. So what I'm saying is that we have two scenarios, very simple the setups are very simple on S&P. First scenario is that if the market goes below this yellow trend line, so what we'll do is we'll put an alert on the yellow trend line. One sec. There you go. Exiting channel. So here's the alert on the yellow trend line. Once the market breaches this yellow trend line, we can start looking for bearish setups. And let's change the color here. So this is the setup for S&P's 500. We are assuming that if we see a break possibility test, then we look for shorting. And the simpler setup again is the bullish one here. Breakout longs above 6277. We are seeing lifetime highs, so why not? So two hypotheses here. H1 suggesting minor pullback followed by bigger up moves. H2 suggesting move lower or below the channel. And just bearish movement altogether. So both of them are projecting the possibility of short-term correction. And yes, we can look for scalp trades around whatever this level is. 6233 below 6233. Keep in mind we are using this data feed. If you are using a different one, prices will vary a little bit. So anyways, as I'm saying, this market is having a very clear long setup, swing bearish setup, not intraday kind of play, but the long setup can be played intraday as well as possibly swing. Wait and watch kind of counter because it is currently in the corrective phase. We can look for scalp shorting below 6234, roughly speaking, but that can be a little bit too risky as the movement can be real fast. I don't think there's much to add here. I've discussed the upside setup, the bearish setup. Bearish setup is swing. Upside setup can be intra scalp swing as well. And we have covered the high time frame counts and the possibility of strong bearishness. We have checked out the targets of the correction, so we don't really have to do anything on S&P. So just let me know if there are doubts, questions on this chart before we move to the next one. And of course, guys, if you have enjoyed the content so far, do not forget to hit the like button and share the content. Why? Because we do need more and more views from you guys. Green channel 4 crossed. Let me see what's the meaning of that. Green channel for wave 4 is crossed. Can we be long? Where is the green channel? I don't see any green channel. There's a red and a yellow here. And I have also discussed the long setup, Raghu. So I've discussed the long setup. If you have any doubts, just push it accordingly. Yes, Saurabh, I do recognize you. Recovery was for gold. All right. Yeah, technically, it's a classic long setup from Edward and McGee style of technical analysis. Classical technical analysis. Nice catch. Break of the one sec. Break of the trend line. Retest of the trend line at multiple occasions. Look at this. Test 1, test 2. So this is suggesting to us that this market is looking conducive for long trades. So what we can do is move the alert line somewhere here. Look for scalp longs on the breakout above 3357. Very good catch, Raghu. But do keep in mind this market is risky. This classical setup can fail anytime. And I've discussed the reason in great detail in our accounts. But yes, nevertheless, it is still a good trade setup. We can trade it with a smaller position size. No problems with that. And a very good, very good catch there, Raghu. All right, guys. So as I was saying, if you are enjoying the content, hit the like, share the content. What else are you doing if you are not doing all that? After so many trades we have captured. All right, enough of my requests. Heading over to the last chart as I don't see any questions. Let's load up the chart from our last discussion here on screen. Now we have the recording from our last public webinar conducted on 20th of June. Let's see what was being discussed on the chart of BTC before we move forward with live chart and discussion. I think it was clear enough. So it was clear enough. We are looking for longs on this counter for the wave 5 up. Wave 4 is still continuing as a possible corrective structure, I will just say. It does look like it has multiple possibilities there. And here's the long setup above 1093.15. Now let's head over and see the live chart. On screen we have BTC live chart 20th June. 20th June didn't really precisely go as expected. We were expecting up move, something like this. We are assuming that possibly the whole thing will complete within this box range and then head higher. The market, although could have done that, it decided to go and take out some stop losses here. Look at the sharpness of the move. Retest of the shadow, retest with the shadow. Anyways, instead of pointing more technical stuff, here is a simple conclusion. We were expecting bullishness. The market did give a minor leg down and then started going bullish. Is it working as expected? Well, at least so far, it really is. The overall count is holding. The exact setup, not so much. But is the overall view of this being a corrective structure for wave 4 and then a move up is really holding well, really, really well. As a matter of fact, you can see we also have trend line retest here. So a lot of clear and simple trades for quick scalping could have been taken. But anyways, coming back to the story currently on screen, what I can say is that if this really is the 4 and this really is the correct count, then this counter of BTC can take out this last high of 110457 rather quick and at least head for 115985. So that's the minimum expectation in case this count holds. And if you want to go breakout longs on this counter, if it does not hold, then we don't really have anything to do here right now. We'll just wait for things to be more clear and place an alert right now. And that should be enough. Place an alert below 102326. So below this level, we can say that this market is possibly heading for bearish movement and that the up leg possibly was complete and this probably isn't the main count or the main theme. With that being said, I think we have covered all the main themes, all the counts, charts, etc. Let me know if you guys have any doubts or questions on this counter of BTC. If not, just type in clear or understood. And also for those of you guys who stayed live with me till the very end, thank you very much for being humble and loyal followers. And as always, I request that you also request the people you share the content with to share this content with others. The more you guys share, the more public webinars or more content can be added in these public webinars and stuff. With that being said, I'll just wait a few moments for the comments. All right. So Raghu says he's clear, and now the comments are loading up. Do keep in mind the fact that while I speak to you, there is a minor lag in my voice reaching to you guys. So your responses are going to be even further from the real time conversation we are doing. I think it's a few 1 second or so gap. Anyways, Raghu saying he's clear. So is Activate, our private Slack group members, and wonderful analysis. Thank you. You are very welcome, Raghu. Thank you, Manuel. Thank you. Can't wait for next week for S&P and Gold. Joe, one of our private Slack group members. It's nice to see your interest building back up again. Joe, I mean, it was never lost, but I recall you were really busy with other stuff. And still your reply is waited, I guess. Awaited. All right, guys, I don't think we have anything much to add here, and I don't see any queries either. So thank you for staying till the end, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Yes, and yes, of course. If you have completed the video course and you are someone looking for more serious stuff, then we'll be launching training program LT batch real soon. You can find details by visiting the website and then selecting training program LT in the courses section for our live class inquiries. That was about all for this discussion. Thank you for staying till the end. Further more comments. You too, Joe. Have a nice weekend. And again, all the remaining audience also have a nice weekend. We'll update all that Raghu in the group later on. Can't discuss everything here. And you probably have already got enough setups to bother yourselves with than to care about that one stock. Although I'll look into it, none of the alerts have gone off, so I don't think there is much of a change from the main line. All right, guys. Thank you for the analysis. Cannot wait for the next big move. Activate. Same case with every trader, I guess. See you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.